Okay, so um, I'm not. Can you see my screen, by the way?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with this case, but since we're here and we're talking about human rights and we're talking about um, Islamic countries and how they behave, have you heard about this case, Haris, of Nazneen Zaghari Ratcliffe?
I did, and there was an Australian professor as well,
Yeah.
and I'm offended that you didn't mention her. But she was released, I think, late last year. She had exactly the same story. But
Oh,
yeah, you
okay.
carry on. I've heard this one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So basically, her husband went on a hunger strike for 3 weeks, and he was sat perched outside near Westminster in London, and like so many people came and rallied to his help and like ordered things off Amazon for him. But he's trying to make like a massive statement here, and this man, my heart goes out to him, and my heart goes off to him because he's doing so much to raise awareness and put so much pressure on the British government. So I just want to read this news story to you guys, and then we can obviously discuss. Um, so, Iran taking innocent people hostage to use as diplomatic pawns, says ex-Foreign Secretary, hailing the efforts by Richard Ratcliffe to secure his wife's freedom, who has been detained since 2016 after being accused of plotting to overthrow the Tehran regime. Jeremy Hunt said, "Whatever the dispute between countries, blameless families should not be made to suffer." This is her. She's a British Iranian aid worker, so I think she had dual nationality at the time she was arrested. The campaign to release Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe has drawn global attention to Iran's hostage taking of innocent people to use as a pawn of diplomatic leverage, a former foreign secretary has said, hailing the efforts by Richard, her husband, to secure his wife's freedom. Yeah, we did that. Okay, so this is an old video of them. So basically, he did meet with Foreign Secretary, and he came out that meeting absolutely dejected. I watched an interview with him on Sky News, and it was horrible to see, like, in such a hopeless situation, he had like further lost hope. And basically, Nazneen was detained in Iran after being accused to overthrow the Tehran government. She was taking her daughter, Gabriella, to see her family when she was arrested and then like immediately sentenced to 5 years in prison. So she spent 4 years in jail and then one under house arrest. And now, if I'm correct, she's literally been reconvicted, and she's appealed that case, and the appeal's also not guaranteed. This is why her husband went on hunger strike. So he's urging the government to be a lot tougher with Iran over his wife's detention. And he came out of the hunger strike yesterday, and he just said the toll it had taken on him physically and emotionally was just so severe that even like Nazanin was worried for his health. So it's just obviously better for him to be more active without going on this hunger strike. But I think he's riled up enough attention. So parliamentarians came to see him, celebrities came, and he was just literally sat like this for 3 weeks in the cold. He'd sleep in that tent and then just sit there all day holding this picture. And according to her family, basically, she was told by Iranian authorities that she's detained because of the UK's failure to pay an outstanding 400 million debt to Iran. And she's one of several people with British or dual nationality detained in the country. And obviously, Harris mentioned the Australian woman as well, which I'm sorry, I didn't know about that. Okay, yeah. So he's fought tirelessly for 5.5 years, basically. And apparently, the issue was that he decided to go public with this campaign right from the start. Whereas I think that the British government would have preferred him to stay more quiet and then they could act on it. But basically, this is the whole point of this story: is the whole world has come to understand Iran's hostage taking and the way they are grabbing innocent people and putting them in prison as a pawn of diplomatic leverage. So it's like, how I don't understand when this is going to end, because I have another story after this about Iran as well, and um it's just insane to see this like they are on a global stage holding foreign nationals, and the government can't do anything about it, or because of the way that they're tied in with these countries and nuclear deals and all of this, they are literally gambling with these individual. This mother has been separated from her daughter. The levels her husband has gone to, I cannot tell you. But yeah, just so this is the Australian.
She's also British Australian. I just realized, but yeah,
Okay.
Australian. She was massively in Australian news. I think earlier this year she was freed, but again she was an academic and she was charged as a spy. And she actually loved the Iranian culture so much that she used to go there and she used to study the Iranian culture. British Australian academic who was jailed in Iran for spying, and the Iranian authorities tried to recruit her as a spy. During her detention, Carly Moore Gilbert was also kept in solitary confinement for 7 months, a form of psychological torture. Don't think Hijab or Sabur Ahmed would call that out. She says drove her to consider suicide. She was arrested in Iran in September 2018 and sentenced to 10 years in prison, but she was released in a swap for 3 jailed Iranians. And that's exactly the
Oh.
point they did in the previous one. So they use that as a leverage.
Mhm.
And
You're literally a bargaining chip for them,
yeah, your bargaining chip, and she's an academic. Poor
mhm.
girl, and you know,
And even Nazanin, she's an aid worker. For God's
yeah,
sakes, like, who are you targeting to be this? But again, I think somebody's made a good point in the comments. I think it's because you can't give up your citizenship if you're
yeah. I think
Iranian.
yeah, that's
Because
what Mia's
Mia,
saying.
yeah,
An Iranian can't give up their citizenship; it sticks for life unless they become citizens of countries like India or Japan, where dual nationality isn't accepted. Um,
right.
right.
That makes
Okay,
sense.
makes sense. Yeah. I Anyway.